Okay, we're here. Whew. Y'all. I literally almost played myself not getting this water. Okay, where do we start? I don't know. First things first, it is 12:19 in the morning, and I'm so dedicated to not perfection, but I guess just rising to the occasion. I've always been that way, that I'm like, I cannot let my keys and duns down. I promised them a key member, and by all means necessary, I'm going to give them a key member. At least we're gonna start off on a good foot. If you're new here, I am Keesha Kaylee, and I have been on this YouTube platform for 10 years. I'm about to be 32 and you guys met me when I was 20, turning 21 or something like that, and I've been doing a damn thing ever since. There's been a lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of great moments that I was super excited to share with you guys. Becoming a mom, you know, my journey into becoming a wife, you know, just like my growing family, career milestones, all of those things. And of course, there has been some shit shows. It comes with that for sure. And I think where I am right now, I've done the work internally. Like, I've literally done the work internally, and I think I'm at a good place to kind of start opening up with you guys about a lot of things that I kind of never talked about. Even though I've pretty much had my life, my entire 20s on the internet for everybody to see, critique, criticize, you know, form opinions, all of those things. I've had to weather the storm in ways that a lot of people probably could not fathom. I kind of am in a season now where, you know, I'm being led by God, and I've had such a conviction over me within my personal self, choices I've made personally, and things that you guys have kind of sort of seen or unfold, but not really get the full picture. And I guess a part of my 10-year anniversary, if you will, on this platform, I've decided to do some podcasts. And all I want to know is this a safe space? Can I talk to you guys for real? Like, are we at a place where I can be candid on my own platform and share some very intimate, vulnerable things? Keep it 100% real with you guys, and y'all at least try to empathize, try to hear me out, try to understand. This particular episode, I went back and forth about it, I'm not gonna lie. From the day that I filmed my video telling you guys that me and my girlfriend broke up and that I was talking to guys, I never closed that chapter on this platform properly. Not that I owed anybody no explanation, because in the real world, most people, they just break up. It's nothing to discuss. I'm not with them no more. Like, I don't got nothing to do with this person no more, and I'm on to the next one. And that's just, for the most part, how it always is. That's the standard. But for me, as an influencer, as someone who pretty much was a part of my identity, coming to a platform, gaining thousands, I believe at the time of that breakup, I probably had at least 150,000 followers. So, and 150,000 people came to know me as Keesha the lesbian. Like, I had a whole girlfriend, and I shared my girlfriend, my relationship with you guys. Y'all saw that. Y'all was all up in the business. Hell, I was living with her when I started my YouTube channel. And it ended abruptly. And I kind of like never looked back. And I know that hurt a lot of you guys. It really pissed a lot of y'all off. And a few people were okay with it. They were like, okay, this is her life. Let's see what's the next thing that she has coming for us. And we're going to just support no matter what. And I appreciate y'all who have done that. But there was a real reason as to why I never really closed that chapter with you guys the way y'all would have liked. And that was because when I say God had such a hold on me, when I tell the story of the last day I had saw my girlfriend and how all that unraveled, y'all's mind would be fucking blown. Like, the way God had set that date up, oh my gosh, like, it was nothing but God. But before we get there, we do need to backtrack. And I want to say this before we get into it. I want to preface by saying this. My story, my journey, my testimony, and my understanding with my relationship with God has no bearing on what I personally feel like any one of you guys should do. This is a judgment-free zone. You're safe here with me, and I hope in my house I'm safe with y'all. This is just my journey, and this is just my truth and how it unfolded. I just want to kind of let y'all into that part of my story because I feel as though it was more of a God calling on my life than just a bad breakup. And I think I was hesitant to share the deep-rooted issues within that relationship because I didn't want to offend anybody. Whew. And I still don't want to offend anybody. That is not my intention with this video, and I just want to make sure that's very clear before I talk about my journey and my experience, that I'm not here to offend anybody. But God has talked to me, and he has made it very clear to me that I'm not living for man. I can't worry about pleasing man. I got to literally stand 10 toes down for him. I literally have to. And if I was bold enough to come on my platform and normalize what I was doing, how I was going about my life at that time, everything that was going on, and bring comfort and peace to other people within my own actions, if I was bold enough to do that without worrying about who I was going to offend, I have to be able to come forward and tell y'all my truth, especially when it has everything to do with God, and not worry about who I offend. So let's go ahead. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I was 15 years old, and I called my mom up and I was like, Mom, come get me before I got to go to practice. I need you to take me to the store. And she was like, okay. It was nothing out of the ordinary. Her job was really close to my high school. This is at my first high school. And she said she was going to come get me. And I had made a decision because I had been going back and forth about how I was going to have this conversation with my mom. My mom is literally my best friend. I tell her any and everything. And up until that point in my life, there was nothing that I ever kept away from her. Nothing. I'm so blessed to have that type of relationship with my parents that I don't have to live in secret until I was 15. So called my mom up. She came and got me. I had went over in my head exactly what I was going to say. And I knew, I was like, Keisha, stick to the script. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. I kind of visualize how the conversation was going to turn out. Didn't visualize her being on that damn phone. And if y'all know my mom in these vlogs, my mom is always on her phone. So I get in the car, she's on her phone, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So we're driving to the store, and when I say I could feel my heart beating out of my chest, because one, I have a dilemma. Is she getting off the phone? It didn't seem like she was wrapping up that conversation. Two, I'm starting to forget my script, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I gotta say this. I gotta get this out. I gotta do it today. Today. We get to the store, and my mom looks back, and she's like, you gonna go in? And I'm like, yeah, one moment though. I need to ask you something. So can you get off the phone? And she was on the phone with her mom. So she told her mom, Keisha need to ask me something. I'm gonna call you right back. And so she gets off the phone, and I'm like, Ma, you know how everybody has been calling you and approaching you and telling you about, we're gonna call my girlfriend at the time, Carol. And she was like, yeah. So I was like, well, I think there's a little bit more to the story that we need to talk about. And she was like, what? And so I said, well, Ma, she actually confessed to me that she likes me and she wants me to be her girlfriend. And her exact words to me was, the fuck? And what'd you say? So I'm like, ooh, this conversation ain't going good, y'all. And I kind of just did a deep breath, and I was like, well, I think I may like her too. I told her yes, and now we're in a relationship. And my mom looked at me, she turned her head back and looked at me in the back of her car, and she said, I didn't raise you to be no gay girl. So, and a couple of more words came out with that, but in a nutshell, that's what she was saying to me. And I was taken aback, because that was the first time in my entire life, my entire 15 years of being on the earth, where my mom was disappointed in me and beyond disappointment. Like, it was no, well, let's talk about this. Like, well, like, why do you feel this way? It was none of that. It was instantly deny. Like, I am denying that behavior, and I don't know what you got going on, but it's not gonna be going on in my house. And I didn't know what to do, so I kind of just said, just kidding. I was just kidding with you, Mom. Everybody keeps saying that we're together, but we're really not together. I was just playing. And then she was like, okay, good, because don't play that shit with me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what am I gonna do? I'm in a relationship with a girl. My mom does not approve. I don't know who to talk to about this. I was so young. Like, at that time, I didn't think of how young I was, but now that I'm almost 32 years old, and I look at other 15-year-olds, and I'm like, I can see myself in my innocence within them. Like, I was a child carrying something like that. And the craziest part about it was, I didn't even know what the hell I was talking about. I didn't even want to be in that relationship. I was attracted to her, as in I thought she was an attractive girl. I wasn't romantically enticed. I was super boy crazy growing up. I had a boyfriend in almost every grade level. And like I said, me and my mom had a great relationship. My mom used to take me to my boyfriend's house, meet their family. Like, she was very involved. I would tell her about my crushes. Like, we didn't have those type of issues. So that one caught her completely off guard to hear something like that. And two, was just not something she condoned. She didn't articulate it in a way that was healthy for our relationship. So instead, I kind of just said, well, I guess I'll just be doing this in secret. I'll just be in this relationship until we break up. My girlfriend at the time was extremely dominant. She had not started to show her controlling ways at that particular time where I had divulged that information to my mom, but it was a few things that started to unravel. So for one, getting in that relationship, it was more of a we're together type thing, not a do you want to be my girlfriend, which was kind of cute of how it happened, but in hindsight I realized like I kind of felt like I just had to go with the flow and just kind of see what happened. She had a big interest in me. She would come to my class. She would, you know, wait outside all my classes, hold all my books, be outside of my practices. And she was telling everybody that I was her girl. So everybody started whispering. You know how school is. People are whispering like, oh my gosh, Keisha's with Carol. Keisha's with Carol. Mind you, she was a transfer student who just had transferred from a whole nother side of town. And already got onto our basketball team. She transferred there for basketball. And basketball was a huge thing at our school at that time. We had some of the best athletes in the state. And so she was a big deal for the teachers and stuff like that. And then also her peers. She was a senior. I was a sophomore. And, you know, like I said, she kind of just took an interest in me. And I was not the type of person where like I shunned people away if I didn't understand them. So at that time, I actually had started developing friendships with a lot of girls in the gay community. You guys have seen one of the girls on my platform. If you remember watching years and years ago, there was a girl named KK, and she was in maybe at least 3 videos. She was probably the first homosexual girl, lesbian if you will, that I befriended. And you know, we were very friendly. So Carol used to see me being cordial with KK and then some other KK's friends, and I guess from a distance she kind of was like, oh, she must also like girls. And when she approached me, she asked somebody else for my number, and when she kind of like hit me up about it, well, she hit me up telling me that a guy wanted to talk to me, and she told me who the guy was, and I was like, no, I'm not interested. And then like we started conversing about everything else, and I wasn't gonna just like not talk to her. She was cool. She was, like I said, she was new, so we just continued to text, and then before you know it, she was just like, you know, I'm feeling you, I bet you I can turn you out and stuff like that. So then she kind of just was like, you my girl, like I really like you my girl. And I was uncomfortable with it. At that time, I did not know how to use my voice at all because of other adversities I went through in my childhood. And I kind of retreated into like an inner shell sometimes, instead of being able to just kind of like advocate for myself, even if it wasn't like cursing somebody out. It's just like, no, I'm good. Like I didn't even know how to do stuff like that, like believe it or not. And that's something you kind of grow and evolve with as you mature. But yeah, so Carol, when she would pick me up from my classes, she would like try to hold my hand, and I'm talking about everybody in the school is whispering like crazy. People are coming up to me left and right. They're like, y'all together. My sister was also a senior, so people are now asking her. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm in a very sticky situation. And she started sitting at the lunch table with me instead of the senior table. I mean, it was just becoming a big deal and manifesting itself to the point where I just felt like, okay, I'm really stuck. Like I'm stuck. So let me just try to see if I can make this work. Maybe why can't I like her? Like, I didn't really have anyone to talk to about that. So what had happened was, a lot of the teachers at the school, while I was there, I was on the cheer team, dance, track. I did morning announcements. I was one of the top scholars. I was in the magnet program. A lot. My sister was 2 years before me, so all the teachers who knew of her and liked her, when I got there, was like, oh, you have a little sister who's also just as smart and bright, but my sister is quiet and just kind of like did her work and went home, whereas me, I was also smart, big personality. I'm the one who's getting in front of the class, talking, presenting. Like, I was just big personality. So in the midst of me trying to figure out what the hell was going on, like, how did I end up dating this girl all of a sudden, to me saying, well, she's a cool person, I don't want to not like her. Sidebar, KK did call my phone up and was like, girl, I thought you didn't like girls. Because she did have a crush on me, but I was like, girl, I don't roll that way, blah, 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 da, da, da. But yeah, she did have a few things to say to me about why why I didn't give her a chance. But like I said, she was more outgoing and carefree, whereas Carol was very direct, stern, and was like, I'm the type, I know what I want, like, and I'm gonna get what I want by any means, like, no questions asked type of person. So it was what it was. So after all my peers had kept asking or questioning me about, like, are you with her, are you with her, my friends started asking. And I'll never forget my closest friends. I had a group of girls. It was about 4 or 5 of us who were my best friends, and they had pulled me to the side one day. At that point, Carol had been sitting with us at lunch, and it was very awkward. Me and Carol would talk. Carol would say certain things, and at first it was like, oh, look, this is the senior everybody been talking about, and blah, 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 to why she's sitting with us every day, Keisha. And I'm just like, she wants to be over here, like, what do you want me to say? So one day my friends had pulled me to the side after school, and they were like, hey, girl, we need to talk to you. And I don't fault them for this. Our friendship did kind of disintegrate completely after this conversation, but they pretty much said, like, hey, everybody's been saying that you're gay. And one of them was like, yeah, I told my sister about it, and she don't like all that gay stuff, so that's not okay with me. The other one, her family, she said her family didn't care. And another one said, you already know how my mom feels about such and such. It was another girl in our class who was a STEM, who is pretty much like a stud and a femme blended in one. And her mom, I guess, had saw the girl before. We're going to call her Kayla. And she's like, you remember what my mom had said about Kayla? So she's not going to go for that. And da-da-da, she's going to make me stop hanging out with you if she finds out. So once again, I'm in a spot where I'm like, I can't talk to nobody about this. Me and my sister also have a great relationship. So my mom, like I said, was not with that. And after I told my mom about what was going on and had that conversation with her in the car, she was still trying to pry and figure out if I was really lying or not. So she would come in my sister's room all the time, like, what you know about Keisha and these girls, and what you think about that, because I hope you ain't gonna try that ish either. Like, I couldn't believe it. And our whole family was going through it at the time, and I just felt like, as a 15-year-old, just got in this relationship that I didn't really have any intentions on doing, and I felt like I kind of had a point to prove. Like, everybody keeps saying, like, oh, this is a phase and you don't know what you're doing. Like, I feel like I need to stay in this relationship and prove to everybody, like, I know what I'm doing. I know how to make my own decisions. This is okay for me. So I stuck around. I stayed in that relationship. After my friends had that conversation with me after school, like I said, our friend group kind of dismantled. We still hung around each other, but I knew right then and there they were no longer a safe space for me. I couldn't talk to them about anything regarding my relationship. So I couldn't talk to my sister because I didn't want her to end up lying to our mother by default. I couldn't talk to my mom because she went with the gay shit, as she said. Surprisingly, my dad was not okay with it, but a little bit more supportive than I would have expected. He found out because the school called him, and I kind of want to just dive into parts of that relationship, even though y'all know it was toxic. I've expressed that before. I've talked about that before. But I'm just kind of taking y'all to my mindset and my journey. A lot of people don't realize that me being with a girl was not the day I got on YouTube. A lot of people for a period of time said she used us. Like, she wanted to bring the gay community in and have us have her back, and just to turn around and she really liked me in this whole time. And no, this was way prior to me even thinking about having a YouTube platform that I had my first girlfriend. So back to me at 15. So outside of my friends, outside of my family, teachers started pulling me to the side, and no one ever sat me down to kind of hear me out and like really talk to me. I just kept hearing stuff like, you're too pretty to be gay. She's too far gone. She's dressing like a boy. She's on the basketball team, but you're too pretty to be gay. Like, you have your whole life ahead of you. What are you thinking? A lot of things that aren't helpful to a child, because I was a child. I was 15 years old. No one in my life was helpful. And I give grace and I have understanding and I forgive, because a lot of people don't know how to handle that. Like, the climate we're in now, if somebody would have told a lesbian student at their school, the Channel 2 Action News would be called. Like, people are not going back and forth about their sexualities. Like, it's all honor the pronouns that people want and this, that, and the third. Like, people are not playing about that. But back when I was 15, you could pretty much still say what you wanted to say. And everybody, like, it was uncomfortable for people. For whatever reason it was uncomfortable. And I was uncomfortable with it as well. I didn't like being identified as gay Keisha. I didn't like being identified as lesbian Keisha. I didn't like any of those things. I started to grow to like my girlfriend at the time by default, because I felt like I had no one else. And when she saw, because I would pour into her like, oh, my friends had this conversation with me today. And she would say stuff like, see, that's why you need to cut them off, because I'm the only one who loves you. You see, I'm the one here for you. F them. You don't need nobody else. And she pretty much knew every time somebody did something that made me uncomfortable with my sexuality or being with her, and would remind me, well, I'm what you need. I'm what you have. F everybody else. Things started to escalate, because it was like small things here and there during the first half of the semester. After we got back from winter break, ish was hitting the fan. I told you guys I got kicked off the cheerleading team, and cheer was pretty much all I had left. Cheer was my entire life. I loved cheer more than anything. And when I was told that I could not cheer the remaining of my sophomore year, and there was a big potential that I could not try out the next year for varsity, and I definitely could hang up the title of captain, I knew, okay, there's no way I can stay at this school. There's no way I can stay at this school. And yes, I did end up transferring to another school. We're going to get there. But I knew at that time, and that happened in maybe February of the February of the second half of the school year, where that happened to me. I had to sit off. I actually was also banned from coming to the varsity basketball games because Carol was too distracted because of my behavior. And by my behavior, the controlling started to happen, whereas sometimes outside of practice, I was cool with everybody. So I had a lot of female friends, male friends, everybody was my friend. And there were a lot of football players and basketball players who, of course, liked me, but we were just friends. And we would be talking, mingling, everybody's mingling. And Carol would be getting so upset in practice because the whole gym door was like glass all around, so you could see out in the little hall area. Carol would be through the roof, and the coach would sometimes come outside of the practice and say, tell all the boys to leave and tell me that I needed to stop being fast and call my mom and get home. My practice is over and I don't need to be mingling. And Carol will have conversations with me like, so coach such and such came and talked to you, you know, you can't be distracting me while I'm in my practice. And I'm like, well, how am I distracting you? Because I'm out talking to people. And it was like, you know what you're doing? These guys are flirting with you. Like, you're pretty much flirting with them in front of my practice. And I'm like, no, I'm not. We were talking about this, or we were talking about that. Like, where'd you get flirting from? And I didn't realize the controlling aspect of that. And after it happened the third time, I remember even telling her assistant coach, like, look, like, at this point, I feel like y'all are telling me, like, I can't talk to any guys anymore. Like, what is going on here? And she didn't talk to me. She was really mean, actually. She didn't really divulge anything else other than, you need to just respect what we're telling you to do. Like, get with the program. Once again, at that point, my mom still did not know I'm in this relationship. So I couldn't go to her and say, Mom, this is what's going on at school. Because before that, my mama is one phone call away. I used to call my mom about any and everything. Not that I really had problems because I was a great student, but just any little thing that could have happened at that school, my mom was there. And everybody knew my mom. That's how people were able to call my mom as soon as they saw me and her holding hands and stuff like that, because everybody knew my mom. So I couldn't talk to her about anything, because then she's gonna be like, well, why are they telling you that you can't talk to no boy because of this girl on the basketball team? What the hell that got to do with anything? So I would keep it to myself, and I just started to isolate myself away from people. Like, I stopped talking as much to people. I kept things at hay and by. I literally just sometimes would just go in and sit down after I was done with my practice, and would just sit in and watch her practice, and just only talk to her people who she pretty much gave me permission, so to speak, to talk to and be around, because anything else was inappropriate on my behalf. And there was one point where, before the second half of the school year happened, like, the whole basketball team had called. Okay, so this is when I had my first panic attack in life. So during the winter break of my sophomore year, the girls basketball team went out of town for basketball something. And remember KK, who was the first lesbian I was ever friends with, in a personal way. I told you guys, a few of her friends. A few of her friends were actually on the girls basketball team. So when Carol got to the school and joined the basketball team, and I got with her, they all were around each other. I had gotten particularly close with one girl, and we're going to call her Cassie. And Cassie and me were so close. Like, she also was in band, and I danced, so we saw each other so much. And she was actually, I think, liked one of my sister's best friends at the time, or talked to her or something like that. So I was just always around Cassie, and we had a great relationship. Like, I really consider her a real friend to me. Fast forward, at the basketball event, all the girls were in a hotel room, and everybody's talking about their relationships, I'm assuming, like how everybody does. And Carol, my girlfriend, starts bragging on, you know, being able to do everything she said she was going to do. I told you I was going to back Keisha. She was going to be my girl. Everybody's like clapping her up or whatever. And was telling them, like, yeah, I was her first, and I'm going to be the first to do this, and I'm going to be the first to do that. And Cassie, who was not popular, but not as popular as the girls who were the top players on the team. You know, they have the starting five and stuff like that. Everybody else is a bench rider. Cassie was a bench rider. My girlfriend was starting five and a co-captain at the time. So Cassie decides to tell everybody, well, you weren't really the first one. And everybody like, what the F you talking about? Like, what's going on? Da-da-da. And so Cassie makes up this rumor that KK and me made out, and she was there to see it. And the whole team went crazy because Carol had asked me several times, like when we first had started talking before the whole girlfriend thing even came up, like was asking me, how do you feel about that girl KK? Like, did you ever talk to her? Da 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 da. And I'm like, no. And she pretty much, you know, of course she believed me because that was the truth. And now on this trip, months later, Cassie is telling everybody me and KK actually did make out. So at that time, my girlfriend started texting me, telling me like, so you a hoe? And I'm like, what? Like, what is she talking about? So I'm hopping up out my bed, sweating, not knowing what to do, because that's me and hoe don't go together. Like, that's never been me. And so I'm just like, what are you talking about? And she was like, oh, one of the girls here told us, just told the whole team pretty much that you lied about KK. And I'm like, no, I didn't. So we're going back and forth. And I'm just like, what? Like, I couldn't believe it. Next thing you know, the coach of the team actually texted my phone and pretty much was like, you a hoe ass B word. The coach texted my phone. And when I tell you, I could not believe my eyes for a second. I wish I could go back in time and have just been brave enough to tell my mom or tell my dad or tell my sister. Well, my sister ended up eventually finding out, but telling a grown adult who could have done something to protect me what a grown adult had just said to me pretty much. And at that point, I'm calling. I probably called 100 something times. Every time I call, I can just hear the team laughing, and it was just like a joke to them. And now I'm calling KK because I'm like, KK, did you tell da-da-da? And she's like, no, I never did that. So remember, KK had a group of friends. Most of all her friends were lesbian. Mostly all of them were. They were like the lesbian group of the high school. And like I said, I was really cool with Cassie, but there was another girl named T that was also a mutual friend, which I knew T prior to Carol, the girlfriend. But me and T never got as close as me and Cassie. So immediately I'm like, I know T is behind this. I know it has to be her. So I'm telling her like, you need to call T up right now and tell her to stop lying, blah, blah, blah. So I give KK my girlfriend's number to tell her like, you need to handle this because this is going completely out of control. This is messing up my reputation. Nothing like this has ever happened. Like this is not okay. And KK calls me back and she was like, hey, T just answered and said she's not even on a trip because she couldn't afford to go. So I'm like, well then who the hell is the player that's telling everybody this? And the only other person that was there was Cassie. So I was like, did Cassie go? And she was like, yeah, Cassie's there. And she calls Cassie up and Cassie laughs on KK and was like, I got it. Pretty much like, I'm gonna fix it. Like when she gets on the phone with her. But I could not believe that betrayal. And I hyperventilated. I had a very bad panic attack. I was just not myself at that point. And I'm just like, this relationship has literally caused my life to go from sitting at this peak to now being all the way down in the deep, deep dungeons. And I'm in an abyss that I cannot get the hell out of. And it was not a good experience. And when we came back, a lot of the players were just like, Keisha, we were just playing. Like, it ain't that big of a deal, girl. We don't even care. Like, they took it like that. But I knew from that moment my life was never going to be the same. I did not deal with toxic situations like that well moving forward. Like, I could just sense the strength coming from me with every single thing that just kept happening while I was in this relationship. But I stayed in it. Fast forward, I'm not going to continue to divulge every little thing that happened in that relationship. But fast forward, the relationship did get physically abusive, way more controlling, and way more just not okay. It was very taxing on me, and with that being said, I decided to leave everything and everybody behind and make an executive decision to not only leave the school, but to leave the entire county. Like, I didn't even want to go to any other school in that county because I just knew kids talk, People probably had been talking about this with other people, and I just did not want this to stick. Now, that was back in January, February, like I said, when December, during the winter break, when that particular situation happened. Throughout the rest of the year, it wasn't nothing else like that. I mean, yeah, it was a lot more antagonizing from the coach. The coach continued to antagonize me for the remaining of the school year, for sure. And I just continued to be more and more isolated from other people, from my peers, from everybody, and just literally only really kind of talk to my girlfriend. And I would tell people like, hey, I'm not even coming here next year, so I don't even care. Like, I just didn't even care no more. And then I just told my mom, like, Mom, I got to transfer schools. And she was 100% on board, because outside of that little thing happening, which came up a little bit, but not as much, because I think at that point other people just started thinking my mom just has to know. Like, they were like, okay, no point to tell her, she has to know, she knows what's going on. But she really didn't know, because I kept keeping it a secret or just telling her we were just friends. So she did know we still remained in each other's lives, but I told her it was just as friends. She didn't know about the abuse or anything like that until the relationship was kind of almost over, and she came to clean up my room one day and she found one of my journals, and I had journaled everything that had happened throughout that relationship. And that was when she found out, and she went straight to my sister, and all hell broke loose in the house, and she was just not a happy camper. But it was a very tumultuous, toxic relationship, to say the least. And that was my first experience being with a woman, and it was not a good one. Once I transferred high schools, I went to my second high school in that relationship. So my junior year, when I transferred to my high school that I met Jeremy at, I went in there already in a relationship. So people knew me as lesbian Keisha straight out the gate, because at that point, you know, my girlfriend was so controlling. She used to lie and say she had people who was in classes with me, secret people that she was calling, making sure that I was not doing nothing. I didn't have no business. I really thought there was people at the school watching me and keeping up with my every move. Like, I really believed this. I don't know why, but I was like, oh, she was like, I got cousins up there. Don't you even put a toe out of line, because she at that point had went to college. She went to college and was out of state, and I'm like, she just had me literally wrapped around her little finger while I'm back here in Georgia, not living my best life, because I'm thinking like, she got people up here watching me. And of course we found out that was a lie. But that relationship ended. Once that relationship ended, you know, of course I'm crying to my peers at my school, like, oh my gosh, like, what am I gonna do for senior year? Now I'm single, blah blah blah. And they're like, oh, I know we can find you another girlfriend, we can find, like, no one brought up we could find you a boyfriend. And that's because people just strongly identified me with being a lesbian and being with a woman. And at that point I was just so stuck in that bubble, I didn't even say, well, how about y'all find me a boyfriend? Like, I didn't even think to even say that. So I'm just like, okay. And then y'all know I ended up getting with the girlfriend that y'all met on YouTube. So that relationship was toxic, but toxic in different reasons. And I don't really want to spend any time talking about that relationship, because that's really not important. I want to fast forward into the point of the relationship where there was a demise and where God started to talk to me. Because throughout the journey of me being with Carol, from that point on, now I'm not saying because I was lesbian, God was making sure I got bad karma in every which way. However, I was doing things out of my spiritual normalcy, such as, I don't know if y'all remember, after BET went off and it was 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and that pastor Peter Popoff would pop up on BET or all those other networks, and he would say he can save your soul and all these things about what he can do if you believe in him and pay this money, he's gonna send you this. And I remember feeling so heavy about being with a woman. Like, I felt so heavy, and I used to just wonder, am I gonna go to hell? Like, I thought about going to hell every single day, literally every single, more than anything else. I just kept saying, I'm gonna go to hell. So I remember ordering the stuff from Peter Popoff, and he sent these big old packets, and it was all about sending money. And I had got me a job. I got my first job at 15. I'm literally sending my whole check to Peter Popoff, getting his, and I just kept getting more packets, like, your life is changing, this, take this bread and eat the bread and lick the salt and do it in this order, and your life is gonna be like. I remember being on my hands and knees in my room, like, begging God to please have mercy on my soul, and please, like, I didn't even know where it was coming from. And I was doing all those things until it was just like, my mom was like, girl, what the hell you keep ordering to this house? Like, what's going on with all this? And I was like, so I had stopped at that point because it was just getting really out of control. By that point, at the end of my relationship with Carol, I had developed PTSD and really bad anxiety and really bad depression. And it was very apparent in my behavior that I was depressed and I had anxiety, and I was a functioning depressed person, very apparent. And I remember calling the ambulance on myself. So because I'm like, enough is enough. Somebody needs to just save me at this point, because I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. And I called 911. I knew what time my mom went to work. I called 911 and they picked me up, and my sister came running out the room, and she called my mom crying like, he should call the ambulance. And they're like, what's going on? I couldn't tell them why I was depressed. I just kept telling them I felt depressed. I feel a heaviness over me. And they kept saying, well, what's going on in your life? I can't even tell them that I'm in this very toxic, physically abusive relationship. I pretty much lost all my friends. The teachers at my school are now ostracizing me, isolating me, making me feel less than. I can't really function. Like, every single day I'm thinking about dying and going to hell. Like, my whole life is going crazy. I couldn't tell them this because they were going to tell my parents, because I was a minor. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just have to say something else. And I don't remember what I said, but it wasn't none of the truth. And I remember my dad leaving work, coming down to the hospital, my hair sticking on top of my head, eyes bloodshot red, snot coming down. And I remember him going to go get a brush and him just brushing my hair up and just telling me like it was going to be okay. And I was just numb to it at that point. They asked me like, do you want to talk to a therapist? And I was just like, okay, I will. But I didn't want to tell the therapist. I started talking to a therapist. I didn't know what to tell the therapist, because I'm like, they're going to probably tell my parents what's going on. It was just a very, very bad way to be. It was a very, very bad way to be. And although I know my mom meant well spiritually as to why she felt the way she felt about me dating women and that lifestyle choice, I think the way that everything kind of fell, like how the chips fell and how everything else was kind of like happening at the same time, it just brought me to a breaking point. So fast forward, after going through therapy, calling out ambulance on myself, going through everything I went through my sophomore year, now I'm going through a breakup. After junior year, I'm still in this toxic abusive relationship, but I'm functioning. So I got the highest grades I ever got in my whole school year, my junior year of when I transferred. Like, I good. I was cheering and everything, but every single time I was by myself, I was crying myself to sleep. I was so depressed. I felt so heavy, but I would still go to school with a smile on my face. No one knew, no one understood. So when that relationship finally ended and everybody was like, oh, we can find you a girlfriend, like, all I saw was danger, 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 like, run the hell away. Like, no, you don't want to be with another female, Keisha. Like, this is crazy. And before I could even figure out what to do, I met my girlfriend. And she was really cool. Everything about our personality, things still were downhill, but not as much as how I was treated at Douglas. Now, what I will say, I had one cheer coach at my second school. Here we are with cheerleading again. And remember, they told me there was no potential for me to be able to be captain because of the incident that happened at my first high school. So my dream was always, I'm graduating, I'm going to be captain of the cheerleading team, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. And that was taken away from me. So I'm going somewhere else now. And I had to work my ass off because the school I transferred to, those girls were great. And God is great, because even throughout everything I had endured, I still was chosen as captain. And I earned that. Like, I really earned that. And shortly after, like not even a week later, my coach texted me. And she said, "Hey Keisha, we need to talk." And I'm like, "About what?" And she said, "What's this I hear about you having a girlfriend?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she was like, "You need to come to my office." So I was like, "Well, I can't come right now. Can we just finish texting about it?" So we finished texting, and she pretty much said, "Do you not know girls would kill to be captain of this cheerleading squad?" Like, I'm telling you, imagine any movie you ever watched where sports is like a big deal at that school. That times 10 was my second high school. Like, it was like night and day. We're not even on that topic of conversation about the environment of my first high school, which was on the west side of Atlanta, compared to my second high school, which was in a very affluent area with very affluent kids and parents. And no, I was not zoned for that school. I was actually using somebody else's address. But anyways, she was like, "Kids would kill for this position, and you got this position, and you can't be a role model to your peers in a relationship with a woman. You don't want to lead them to make them believe that that's okay." And I remember reading that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is deja vu. Like, this is deja vu from my first high school. Like, there's no way, like, me being with a girl is about to do this. And I was just, she wasn't the head coach. And I actually had a great relationship with the head coach. And the ninth grade and JV coach was actually my AP teacher. So I immediately text the head coach, and I was like sending her the messages, and I was like, "Hey, the coach is saying that I won't be able to be captain anymore, blah blah blah." And then I didn't text my AP teacher. I don't think I had her number at the time. I went to her class, and I was crying. Like, I'm talking about hysterical. Like, when I got that text message, I literally had to tell my teacher I was leaving. Like, I had to leave. And everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, what happened to Keisha?" Like, and I was just like, "Oh, they was like, do we need to call your mom? Like, what, are you having an emergency?" Like, I was crying, because it's like my whole life flashed before my eyes of all of the torture I went through at my previous school. And like I said, y'all are only getting bits and pieces of what I had to really endure being there and isolate and how I felt. But I just felt like that all over again. And I went crying to my AP teacher, who was also the ninth grade and JV coach. And I was like, "There's no way. Like, how does this have anything to do with me being the captain? Like, I earned this." And they were like, "Don't worry." She was like, "I'm going to send an email to her right now." The head coach, who's the head over all coaches, but she was not the varsity basketball cheerleading coach that year, but she was still the head coach over every other coach. And she pretty much got everything rectified. So what the resolution was, I could do whatever I wanted to do, be with whoever I wanted to be with, but I was not allowed to publicly be in a relationship with a woman. If that's gonna be my business, she's like, keep that private. Don't be sitting with her at lunch. Don't be walking down the hallway holding no hands. All that stuff. It needs to not look like y'all are together. Now, granted, my entire team knew I was in that relationship, but that's just kind of what I had to do. I had to adapt. And it wasn't really to the end of the year where I because she ended up coming in the lunchroom one time, seeing us sit beside each other, and she literally came in there and like looked at me like, "Girl," but we had built a rapport at that point. Like, we were much closer. So it was just kind of like, I'm not okay with this, Keisha. But she still didn't sit me down. She did ask me a few questions. She did say, "Well, what do you want for your life?" Because I keep hearing you talk about, because I'm telling y'all, I always talked about being a wife and a mom. So that's something that's always been within me. And I remember she did talk to me once, and she was like, "I thought you wanted to be a wife and a mom." And she was like, God is not okay with that, and that's not the order of how God wants it to be, and how is that going to happen if you're with a woman? So she did talk to me about it. It still didn't hit me and help me and guide me the way she would have wanted it to, because I just kind of felt like it still shouldn't have been no point where my position as a captain was potentially going to be revoked because of it. But she tried. I can give her that credit. She did at least try. But nothing else extreme at that school happened as far as anything else. I had a great relationship. I was very popular. I won best personality my senior year. Like I said, I was Miss Varsity cheerleader. I was captain of the varsity cheerleading team. Like, everything was great. My relationship was toxic, but not really as toxic until we left, until I went to Spelman, and things unraveled at that point. But let's fast forward, because y'all met me in that relationship and y'all saw the toxic disconnect we had. We did bicker a lot and all those things. And just out of respect for her family, I have spoken to her little sister, not recently, but recently enough. And I have so much respect for her family. They allowed me to live with them while we were dating, and I just had a great relationship with them. So just out of respect for them, I don't want to even go down the dynamics of that relationship. Like I said, I've done enough videos and talked about it enough. Just know it was toxic. I kind of just want to get into my mindset of how things started to unravel for me as far as being in a relationship with a woman. So when I came onto YouTube and I pretty much was telling everybody, like, this is my relationship, because at that point I'm like, okay, I'm living in my truth. I finally got to college. I'm completely away from people who can snap this away from me, snap that away from me, because I'm with a woman. And let me just try to, like, I'm in this relationship, like, let me try to see this out for the long run. And although I did not feel okay with it, it wasn't until one of my friends from high school died and she came back to life. And I remember her posting her story on social media and telling everybody like how she died and what had happened. And me and her were really close. So it was very surprising when she said she died, and the stuff that she was doing in her life and all the sins, and she's changing her life around and she's getting right with God, and she died and went to hell. And there was so much stuff she was telling everybody, like, look, I saw this, I saw that in hell, change your life around, blah, blah, blah. Like, she had a real testimony. And I'll never forget calling her and asking her, did you see gay people in hell? And she told me, she said, Keisha, you need to get right with your life. And I didn't know what that meant, because I said, are you saying that God doesn't like lesbians? And she said, I'm not saying that. God loves everybody. What I'm saying is you need to get right with your life. And it kind of stuck in the back of my mind, because I think for so long I had been looking for somebody to just sit down and tell me this is what you need to do and why, instead of me being able to discern one and realize what was good for me and what was bad for me. And not to say because I was with a woman, because hell, all this stuff could have happened with me being with a man. Let's be clear. All of these things could have happened regardless if I was in a heterosexual or a homosexual relationship. Let's be clear. I'm just saying for my specific life and how things unfolded, I'm just seeing how my life took a complete 180 from the time of being 15 on out. And I remember at one point looking at my girlfriend who you all met and being so disgusted. This is TMI. It may not be, but hell, can I be honest? Can I talk to y'all? I had never been down on a woman, ever. Still to this day, I've never. That type of stuff disgusted me. The thought of being with a woman disgusted me. I had never had an orgasm. I had never This is the part where the devil doesn't want me to talk through this, because this is where he starts showing up very clearly in the situation, and how things started to look a lot different once I understood. But we got to get here, y'all. I said I was gonna tell my truth, so I'm gonna tell my truth. Okay, So, like I was saying, I never fiend or desired a woman. As crazy as that is, 10 years I was with women, and I never, ever, ever desired one. Yes, I had kissed my girlfriends. Carol, I know a lot of some of the toxic things happened during where it was kind of like, I want you to do this or I want you to do that, and I was like, no way, Jose. Like, no. I'm like, and I couldn't tell her, like, I'm going to vomit all over you if you ask me to do that. And even within, like, I couldn't be honest with myself that I wasn't happy outside of being in a toxic relationship. I couldn't just be honest with myself, like, my body chemistry is not even wanting this. Why am I sticking around for this? But this is the youngness. This is what happens when you're young. You're 15 years old and you're going through all these things and seemingly by yourself. Now, with my second girlfriend, who you guys met, there were years where we damn near never did anything for years. For years. I mean, I didn't want to, and eventually I did find out that she was doing other stuff, but that's neither here nor there. With other people, but that's neither here nor there. But with me specifically, I remember one time she was eating so much and wasn't like as thin as she used to be in high school, and she started growing a bud, and I remember looking at her and I was like, you need to lose that. Like, I don't know what's going on, but you need to lose that. And she was like, what? And I was just like, yeah, this is not like turning me on at all. Like, I didn't think I had a real valid reason to walk away from the relationship. I felt like I was in too deep. I felt like all this time has gone by, all these years have gone by. Everybody has told me, you don't know what you're doing. This is a phase, this, that, and the third. And I gotta see this through. Like, there's just no way. Like, this is like, it just felt normal being in that type of dysfunction. And like I said, there's no difference from feeling that way regardless of being with a man or in same-sex relationships. So I'm not emphasizing that. I'm just talking about my journey and my walk. So after my friend who passed away and came back and had that vision about what she saw when she passed away, I remember it sticking with me in the back of my head, and the visions that I had about me going to hell started to come back. And when I started my YouTube channel and I put her on my YouTube channel, instantly I regretted it. Because I just knew, like, there's something else at the end of this, and this is not it. I don't know what it is or how I'm gonna get there, but this is not it. And you know, I kind of just felt like, you know, just like when you're in any toxic, unhealthy relationship, you just stick around because y'all just are trauma bonding and y'all are just liking each other for the wrong reasons at this point. And it was just clash after clash after clash after clash after clash. And like I said, I never had any interest sexually, and I started thinking something was wrong with me. I started thinking something truly was wrong with me in my body. I started telling myself, like, my body does not function the way that a woman's body is supposed to function. Like, I don't feel the sensations or any of those things that other women talk about feeling. You know, I have my college friends and all this other stuff. Like, I'm like, I don't know what that feels like. And I'm at this point 18, 19 years old. I'm like, I've never felt this at all, because my last boyfriend was when I was 14. So I'm like, I've never felt this at all. So I think something's wrong with my body. And I went back to depression. I knew I was in a relationship I did not want to be in. And then not only that, I knew that my body had something wrong with it. I started self-diagnosing myself with different diseases, because I'm just like, it must be this, it must be that. it was really bad. You guys saw me go back to therapy, and that's just because it was like a battle of me being in a relationship that I didn't want to be in and staying there. And it was not good, because now at this point I'm starting my YouTube channel. I'm starting to relive some of the trauma, because some of this stuff is not as new to you guys, but I'm starting to relive some of the trauma, and now I'm breaking down because I never healed from it properly the first time. I never healed. I never got help. Therapy before did not help me. I never was forthcoming with my therapist about anything that I dealt with, because I could not. I thought they were going to tell my parents. So now that I'm starting to do my YouTube channel, it was so many people like advocating and sending me messages and sending me comments and telling me like they're pretty much living vicariously through me, and I'm their inspiration, and I'm giving them hope. And they felt like they couldn't live their truth, and now seeing me be able to do this out loud is making them feel like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, all these people are looking at me to not be their savior, but they're looking at me and they're putting me on this pedestal of a person because they see I'm this good person. My life looks good, so to speak. I'm at Spelman College and this, that, and the third. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, because so many people battle silently and they don't find their way out. And I understand that when I started my platform, I was a lot of people's way out. I was people's safe space to really feel like they can be themselves in their real everyday lives. And that was hard for me to deal with, that knowing the brunt of what I've dealt with while being in these relationships, knowing like when I'm having conversations with my friends, and now people are, my friends are losing their virginities and talking about these things, and I'm like feeling like something is wrong with my body. And it wasn't until sex demons started visiting me that I knew something was not wrong with my body. The first time that I got wet in my entire life was when I had a dream. And in that dream, I had sex with a man, and I woke up and felt my private parts and realized like I'm actually responding to physical touch and intimacy the way that my body should. And there was no man present in the room. There was no physical touch in any way, shape, or form. It was just me feeling it to be so real within my dream. I didn't even know what a sex demon was at the time. I didn't know what that was, but what I do know was I liked the way that felt. So here I am begging and pleading and crying when my girlfriend at the time would touch me and want to do intimate stuff with me. And we would have to go periods of time before she even thought to ask again. And some nights we would be laid up by each other, and the sex demons would visit me, and I would find so much comfort in it that sometimes I would wake up and roll over and try to do something with her. I'm like, okay, this is the time I should probably do it. Let me see. And immediately my body would go dry, if y'all know what I'm talking about. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, is it her? Is it me? Is it like, what is this? Like, what is this? And that was the first time a man had touched me, was in my dream. And I had never seen or touched male private parts until then, and it felt so real. It felt so real, and it was just like the best thing ever. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm supposed to be with a man. Like I'm supposed to be with a man. And by that point, I'm literally still on my platform. At that point, I had pretty much removed my girlfriend off because she didn't even like YouTube for all the negative commentary and feedback that it came with. But pretty much had removed her off my platform. But now I'm trying to figure out how to remove her out of my life, because my body is telling me things in my sleep that it has never told me when I was awake. And I was afraid to tell anybody, so I didn't. I never shared that at that time with anybody, because one, it was embarrassing as hell to tell people like I've never felt that type of stuff as a woman. Like, what are you talking about, Keisha? And two, I couldn't talk about it with my girlfriend because she was gonna be like, what the F? A man visiting you in your dreams? Like, what? And you feeling some type of way and hot and bothered for him, but when I touch you, you got the ick. So that coupled with the lack of support in my relationship, because like I said, we did have our own stuff going on. It was a lack of support on her end for me. It was no support whatsoever as far as my dreams, my goal, my aspirations. So now when you have somebody who's not supporting your dreams, goals, and aspirations, who's not affectionate with you whatsoever, so bad to the point that it's now affected me in my new relationship, my relationship now, which we'll talk about me and my current relationship on another podcast series. But it affected me to this day with the lack of affection I receive, to now how I am affectionate, how I'm able to give and receive affection in my relationship. Someone who is a liar, someone who is a cheater, someone who was toxic, someone who was not communicative, someone who did not know how to properly how can I say this? Because like I said, I don't want to talk too much about that relationship. So we're going to just leave it right there. All things negative under that umbrella. And I'm not saying I was perfect as a girlfriend, because what should have happened was I should have ended that relationship after a year, after I got to college, because I knew right when I got to Spelman, like our relationship, when I got around Morehouse guys, a lot of guys liked me, a lot of guys, you know, I had gave my number to, because we were all in friend groups and we were all exchange numbers. And my girlfriend at the time would go through my phone and see like guys texting me, and she cut that off real quick and was like, yeah, no. So that was also really a big part of me not enjoying any parts of college, because she was just like, you're in a committed relationship, you don't have no business being at this, you don't have no business being at that, what you want to go be around men for, da 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 da. And so I just didn't go. I just kind of was like, I need to focus on my dreams, my aspirations, I need to be making money. And that's kind of what I focused on. But it was a big part of that was her telling me and never supporting any fun or any activities that involve the male sex at all. Like no support whatsoever. And who knows, if I would have been going, I probably would have found somebody to kind of sweep me off my feet. But since I didn't have no other parties around, I kind of just stayed in that relationship and just kind of was back to how I was with Carol, and was back to being depressed, seriously depressed, because I was going out of my mind battling what to do. And I felt like I didn't know how to come on my platform. Her whole family watched my channel. She watched my channel. How can I come and ask you guys for advice about something like this? And I didn't give myself grace. I think that so often we don't give ourselves grace with changing our minds, with making a mistake, to the point that other people don't even give us grace. But past that of other people giving you that type of grace, you have to start with giving yourself grace. And I remember I continued to see Bible scriptures. I kept running into a lot of people who were in the church during the ending of our relationship. And it was kind of like so many people kept telling me to turn my life around, get baptized. And I was like, why is this coming at me like this? Like, where is this coming from? And I remember being on my hands and knees praying to God to please forgive me, because I start feeling like, okay, this is maybe a sign that God is not pleased with me, and my life ended up like this, and I'm depressed, crying, and feeling the way that I'm feeling, because back when I was in high school, and he told me to get out of that terrible relationship, he broke me down until he couldn't break me no more, and I still didn't listen. Instead, I was buying Peter Popoff salts and breads and doing all kinds of stuff, still standing around, but walking around talking about God, loving God out loud, but not living by that. Trying to find parts of the Bible that supported what I wanted it to support. Like, there was so much God related things that were going on within that time frame from 15 to the time me and my ex broke up around 23 years of age, that it was just kind of like, it was like a slap in his face. I kind of felt like I was just trying to pray my way out of a rainy day. I just kept trying to, and a lot of people do that. Like, we kind of feel like, no, not me. God wouldn't do that to me type of thing, and I'll be okay. God will forgive me. And it doesn't work like that. Like, I started having so much turmoil within myself that there was nowhere for me to escape. There was literally nowhere for me to escape. And for so long, since I never really properly got therapy, healed, and did not know how to deal with that type of trauma, it manifested itself into other ways of my life that luckily I'm at a better place now from. But I just remember feeling like, you know, I want to come forward and tell everybody like what I've been through and what I've dealt with and what this has done to me. But I feel like all these people who said I was their hope, all these people who looked at me and said like, you know, seeing me be happy and love myself out loud, like gave them so much hope for their lives to change and for them to, you know, be able to live in their truths and all these different things. I felt like I was gonna be letting people down. I was like, no, I can't let these people down. Like, they need me. So many people, when I tell you, I was getting paragraphs, I was getting essays sometimes of people telling me their whole life stories, putting all of that on my plate, like telling me like, my mom didn't accept me, my dad didn't accept me, I can relate to this, I can relate to that. Like, we were all trauma bonding. Like, a lot of the people who first started watching my channel, we all were fucked up. We all were in mental disarray. We all didn't know which way we were going and which way we were leaving. Like, it was bad. It was really, really bad. And I wish that there was way more advocacy for the mental health aspect of life, because I felt like it should not have taken that long for me to get where I'm at now. I shouldn't have had to go through those things. People should have been able to acknowledge those signs and be able to figure out how to assist and advocate for my mental health. There is no reason why at 15 years old I should have went to a school where teachers are texting my phone and calling me out of my name because they think it's funny and a joke. There is no way that I should have been isolated and mistreated, with grown adults being very aware of what's going on and nobody doing anything about it because they wanted their star basketball player to still be in the right state of mind to win the championship. Like, there's just no way all of those things can happen. So I felt as though like, well, maybe I don't matter. Maybe I don't have value. And it was kind of like a crazy thing because, like I said, I was a functioning person who was going through the turmoil. I was functioning. I was highly functioning until it just started to look like a burnout. Until I'm sitting in the middle of some of my college classes and I just break down crying, or I throw up in the middle of one of my exams because I have to get rushed to the school therapist to talk to someone and vent to someone because things have been bottled up in my head for so long that I don't know what the hell to do at this point. And I couldn't just choose me, regardless of who I was dating or anything like that. I just could not choose me. And like I said, I started to see some stuff, those toxic things in those relationships showed themselves up. I started to lose value within myself, and I took that into other relations and relationships after that. Not that there were many, because there was only one guy I talked to before even talking to Jeremy. Well, one guy that I was dating. I talked to several, let's be clear, but that's a little key for all the guys who, you know, came into my life after I finally did end it with my girlfriend at the time. But I think that the biggest thing for me was I wasn't able to admit that I was broken. When I came back on my platform to share with everybody like, hey, I'm not in this relationship anymore, and as a matter of fact, I will never be with a woman again, ever in life, I was afraid to admit about my brokenness and how my life for the last however many years had been so broken and so fucked up that I literally needed to rebuild myself to a person that I could even recognize. And that was okay for me to do that. I didn't have the strength and the conviction over myself at that time to be able to be honest with my platform about that. I just wanted it to be like a, you know, we're not together. You all need to understand, which in a way, like I said in the beginning, that is a normal response. People do deserve their privacy and understanding when they don't want to discuss things with thousands of people on the internet. But at the same time, I know how that was such a big part in people's heart. And I'm not going to apologize for how things went down, because this was my truth and how things unfolded for me. Because even still then, I didn't immediately find God. Immediately right after I did go to church, immediately right after I did get baptized. So I thought I was doing all the right things. But like I said, we have more podcast episodes to go where I can get more into details about the aftermath of all of that and what that did to me in my life and how all those things unfolded. But ultimately speaking, if you don't feel safe in your relationship, get out of it. I know it's easier said than done, because for me it was like that was the impossible. Like, where am I supposed to go? There's absolutely nobody to talk to. And the thing that I can say is there are so many platforms now that have advocated for mental health and numbers that you can call to reach out to people, because no one should be forced to be in a relationship. Yes, I stayed, but like I said, let's make it clear, I was 15 years old, and this is just something I was kind of manipulated into, and I just stuck around because it was just, okay, why not? Let's just figure this out. This is, why not type of thing that just turned itself inside out of my life and broke me down to something unrecognizable. And by the time you guys met me, I was in such a fragile part of my identity that, like I said, I was on antidepressants. I never was like anemic. I mean, like, what is it called? Going through bulimia or anorexia or anything like that. But, of course, I wasn't eating the way that I should have been eating, because I was so depressed and so stressed out and just could not understand why my body was rejecting myself. Like, why is my body not the way it should be? And going through an identity crisis at that point, because I'm like, am I even a woman? Like, what's going on for real? And I'm just so happy that God did give me grace. I am really grateful that I was able to finally close that chapter of my life. It sucks that the finale had to be broadcasted all over the internet, especially being that there were so many missing pieces to that story. But we have closed that chapter. It has been a very long time with that book being even open, but I just kind of felt like at this point I wanted to just kind of share the manifestation of that chapter of my life and how damaging it was overall to me, and hopefully encourage any of you guys who are dealing with anything similar or feeling as though, Lord have mercy, like anything that I spoke on that you're dealing with or you can relate to, I want you to know that don't wait until it's too late. Not to say that at 23 was too late, because I was so young at the time where I was finally able to break free, but I stuck around for all the wrong reasons in both of those relationships, and it was always for other people. It was never for Keisha. I never stayed in those relationships, and I hate to have to say it like that, because I don't want anybody to hear this and be like, see, you faked a relationship for us, because trust me, I was not making a cute coin or a pretty penny on YouTube because of that. I literally, like, come on now, let's be real. I genuinely, and at that point, like, I had removed my girlfriend off my platform before I even really started making kind of decent money. I still was working nannying and all these other things while I was in that relationship, but it was just because I just felt like for so long I had learned to be okay with just showing up, even broken inside, that it became normal for me. So it was very easy for me to get on my platform broken and worthless and dealing with all those things, that it wasn't like, oh well, I'm gonna just fake it, because I genuinely did try to figure out how to make the relationship work. It was just internally there was so many things going on to try to stop that when God takes over your life, there's nothing you can do to make it work. There's nothing you can do. When God puts his hand on something and says, look, I've done tried to get you out of this. I done tried to tell you what I want for you, what I see for you, my daughter. And that's exactly what God sat me down and spoke to me. And he told me, I see you being a wife. I see you being a mom. I see you following the order of operations that I ordained for you, that I wrote down in the book for everybody to be able to open up and read and understand how things should go. And when you do things out of order, when you do things outside of God's order, you can't be surprised when the foolishness ensues. And that's not to say that everybody who deals with stuff means that they're just out here sinning or whatever. But what I will say for me, when God spoke to me personally, he was very clear with those words to me, is when you do things out of order and you do things out of what I have put, because I make it very clear what I want and what I see for my children. When you do things outside of that, then all hell will break loose. And let's be clear, all hell broke loose for a very long period of time in my life. And regardless if it was stuff that was out of my control, I think that it definitely happened for a reason, because had it not happened for a reason, I would not have understood all aspects of my relationship with God as I do now, because things still happen after that. As we all know, things were still a shit show and things were still going crazy and it was a lot. However, all of these things had to be put into perspective so that I can understand how good God is, so that I can understand how my relationship with him should be what I seek out. When I can't find anyone else to hear me out, seek him immediately. Because the last thing you want to do is you want to pass away from this earth and you've endured hell on earth as you think, and then you meet your maker and he says, depart from me, I never knew you. And that does not mean you're not going around saying, hey, I'm a believer, hey, I follow God, hey, I believe in Jesus, hey, no, that's not what that means. It means the very thing that I did not do when I was dealing with all that. I was looking for love in all the wrong places, and I was not seeking God's voice. In the little moments of time that I was trying to bring God into that mess, it was done the wrong way. It was a complete mockery out of everything God is. God wants you to read the Bible, have an intimate relationship with him, call on him, talk to him. He will reveal what you need to do, and you need to trust him. Lean not into your own understanding, because there was a little birdie in the back of my head. There was a little voice in the back of my head for years since I was 15 years old that told me, my daughter, you're supposed to be a wife and a mother. This is not what I have for you. Please step away from this and do it quickly. My daughter, this is not becoming of you. My daughter, this is not what I have for your life. My daughter, this is not you at all. My daughter, you're going down a dangerous path. My daughter, I'm going to be here to save you in the end. But my daughter, please don't put yourself in a terrible situation that you don't have to be in. And I didn't listen. I just kept thinking, there is no way it can be me. It's just me. How could this happen to me type of thing? Instead of listening to him tell me to walk away. Regardless, walk away no matter. I didn't need my mom's validation, the teachers. I didn't need permission from my girlfriend at the time. I didn't need all these situations. If I would have listened to that little voice in the back of my head, which was God himself telling me that this is not what I have for you and you need to go. Because I remember y'all, I remember getting the Bible and trying to open it up, like I said, and trying to find passages that could support my choices I was making in life, and could not find one. And then I remember closing that Bible and putting it on my shoe rack for years and years to stay. I never opened that Bible back up again because it didn't look like what I wanted to look like. It didn't support what I wanted it to support, and for my life, to make myself feel better about my life choices. So I said, to hell with it. I'm gonna close this Bible on up, put this on over there. I still believe in God, and I'm just gonna keep on a chugging. And every time something crazy happened, I kept hearing in the back of my head, I told you, I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to save you, I'm trying to warn you, I'm trying to this, I'm trying to that. And I would just kind of suppress it. I kept trying to seek God, and when I would get close to it, I would just say, you know, maybe that's not really what it's supposed to be, and just completely ignore it. And I want everybody in their life, the moment you realize you don't need anybody else but God to fill the void that you have. If your mother doesn't love you, if your friends don't care about you, if your teachers think you're dumb and won't make it in life, if the world seems to be against you, you have to start speaking the words of God over your life. Claim that stuff for your, and I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy to not be liked. It was very hard for me to be on a YouTube platform with my life being put up on this platform for everybody to be able to poke and try to manipulate and think they can understand and put together the pieces of someone who was just so broken, who was just looking for someone since they was 15 to just say, hey, look, Keisha, it's okay. Like, y'all don't do this to her. Like, let's help her up. Like, that's what I had been looking for, and it was so hurtful to see, like, for people who said they once loved me and valued me and my presence, to just kind of, the moment that relationship ended, continue to find things to try to put me down as a person, in my current relationship now, to try to make me feel bad or less than of a person because of whatever choices I've made with my life. And it was heavy. But God, and that's all I can really say about this transition to where I'm at now, and I'm grateful for that. I remember watching a video of a guy saying that he died and went to hell, and while he was standing in line waiting for him to be judged, it was another girl before him who was judged, and God told her to depart from him. I never knew you. And she was confused, like, what are you talking about? Like, I believe in you. What do you mean? I went to church, I did this, I did that. And he said, you had that Facebook post and you had hundreds of thousands of likes. I wish I could find that for y'all to see it and link it. But he was like, you had that Facebook post. I'm kind of summarizing, but essentially you had that Facebook post, and based off what you said in that post, you led thousands of other people's souls to hell. So now you must depart from me. And that gave me chills, literally. And that was this year when I watched that. That was probably in January of this year when I watched that post. And I cried so hard. Like I just cried so hard because I was like, God, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't want all these people who watch me on my platform talk about this lifestyle choice and me proudly talking about this, and this is a sin, this is, in your eyes, this is a sin, and I don't want to be the one and you come back and you tell me this. Like, I was like, what do I say? What do I do? Like, how do I go about this, God? And he said, you must speak out. You must speak out for me. That's all you have to do. You have to speak out for me. The more you speak out for me, it's not about will you sin again. It's not will you make another mistake. It's not will you be perfect. It's about making sure that when there's a message that God wants you to tell to the world or share amongst other people, that you're not afraid because of man, that you must speak out and share the testimony and enlighten other people of the work of God. There was nothing but God that could have pulled me out of that situation. I'll never forget. Let me leave y'all with this last story that happened with me and Carol. In the midst of our very tumultuous, toxic relationship, like I said, she put her hands on me a lot. There was one specific time where we went to the mall and she had just cut all her hair off. Speaking of, Carol is now Carl. Yeah. Anyways, at this particular time, we were still dating and Carol was Carol. Carol cut all Carol's hair off. And I saw Carol and I was not happy with what I saw. And we were at the train station and other people from our first high school together had ended up being at that same train station, and they were like, oh my gosh, is that Carol? Is that Carol? And they were kind of like snickering because Carol had cut all her hair off and she looked a little different, the way she shaped her head or whatever. And I didn't really say nothing. I'm just like, okay, waiting for the train. And I remember getting off the train, getting into the car, and then she just kind of yanked my neck and pushed me into the window and was like, this is why I can't fuck with you. This is why you want me to love you so bad. This is why I can't love you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? All the fucking people out there laughing and you can't stand up for your girlfriend. I'm like, what did you want me to do? Like, you chose to cut your hair off. What you want me to say? Like, so we going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We driving. We get to the mall. We're fighting, arguing. We in a dressing room. She take me to a dressing room to kind of yank me up again. And I'm just like, I want to leave. I want to go home. We get in the car. We're driving again. And it was just like my head was spinning so bad because I just was so miserable. And I remember just saying, like, I want to leave. Like, I just don't want this relationship no more. Like, this is just so draining. I'm not happy. And we start driving, and I'm looking around and notice, like, we end up kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I don't know if y'all have ever been to, like, a truck stop where there's, like, lines and lines and lines of trucks, like the huge, big trucks. Because most people don't drive into that area because you're not a truck driver. But if you're a truck driver, you probably have done it, where it's like dirt, and well, where we particularly were, it was dirt and just lines and lines and lines of trucks. And she gets me to the area and I'm like, what are we doing here? And she's like, you're gonna get your ass out this car right now and I'm gonna leave you here. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? So I get my purse. I'm very smart now. So I immediately grab the key out the car. As soon as she gets out the car to try to get me out the car, I grab the key because, yeah, I'm going to get out and now I got the key. So I grab the key, put it in my purse. She's trying to open the door. Open the door, beware. Open the door, beware. Banging on the way. Open the door, beware. Open the door, beware. So she comes around the back seat, yanks me from the back, like holds me up from the back, tells me open the door or whatever, or else. Finally unlock the door. She's like, bitch, get out the car. And it starts dragging me. I'm screaming. At this point, this is my when I transferred to the second school, she came down to visit me. So this is during one of her visits during the school year. So I am no more than 17 years old. And 16, 17 years old. I don't remember what part of the school year this was, but it was 16, 17 years old. And I'm at this truck stop and I'm just thinking, I'm about to die. Like, I'm literally about to die. Like, this girl is dragging me out. My knees are skinning. It hurts. I'm on this dirty gravel road in the middle of this fucking truck thing. All these big ass trucks. I'm like, what the fuck? And she's dragging me. And I'm holding on. And she ended up going back to the car to leave me and realized that I had took the key. She come back out. Give me the key. She's kicking me, hitting me. Give me the key. So she ended up taking my purse. She's much stronger than me. She takes my purse and literally empties my whole entire purse out and starts kicking everything everywhere. Like, stuff is scattering everywhere. She sees the key. She gets the key, runs back to her car, and I'm screaming, please wait, please. And next thing you know, in my teary eyes, I see a truck driving towards me. I'm in the dirt, 16 fucking years old. And I'm on my knees with my hand out because I see a truck coming towards me. And it's a Caucasian guy. I can start telling, like, through my tears, like, who the person is. I was praying for a black person. But anyways, it was a Caucasian guy. And I'm like, help. They was like, are you in trouble, miss? What's going on? Are you okay? And I'm just like, no, no, no. Like, please help me. Please help me. Please call someone. Like, I need help. And then they were like, what happened? What happened? I was like, my girlfriend, she kicked me out. She's leaving me here. I don't know how to get back home, blah, blah, blah. And there was like, girlfriend? And then they was like, that's your problem right there. Like, literally in the middle of nowhere. This man don't know how old I am, but I'm small, petite, and young looking and everything. So you can only assume I'm for sure a minor. On my knees, blood, skin, stuff everywhere, crying at a truck spot. And he literally looks at me and tells me, God don't want you in that relationship. That's why you going through this. You got to get out of that relationship first before somebody can help you. And drives his truck off. And my girlfriend gets out the car and said, I told you, looks at me dead in my eyes and said, I told you, nobody ever gonna rescue your ass like me. Now get your raggedy ass up and get in the car. And I'm just like, I could not believe it. Like, I could not, but and his words that stuck with me the entire ride home, all the way back to my mom's house to get dropped off. I just remember him just telling me, like, God doesn't like this. Like, and I was like, is this really why I'm dealing with this? But once again, everybody having so much to say, but not knowing how to properly help in the situation. Because he could have for sure helped me. I could have died. Imagine if I would have freaking died. Imagine if I would have freaking died. This man would have had my blood on his hands because I literally saw him and told him I needed help, and he literally drove off. Like, this, I can't make this stuff up. Thankfully to God, I did make it back home safely. I cried like a baby. I cried like a baby. And I do believe that was one of the last times I saw my girlfriend at the time. I think I saw her one more time from that. But like I said, it was just so many different things that just kept coming up during that time period that were just so disastrous. And I was like, if God really loved me, why all these people abandon me? Why people keep bringing him up to me, but no one is helping me like the way God would? Like, this is not making sense to me. And I remember being so disappointed in God. And I was like, do I need to be believing in God? Is God real? Like, I remember asking myself these questions because I'm like, I'm literally, I always used to reflect on the bad, like all the bad that I kept going through. And every time something new added, it was like more and more and more and more and more. And that's why I love so hard to this day. Like, it is so hard for me to love you, but when I love you, I love so hard. I love so hard because I was so broken for so long that I didn't know how to love myself and open myself up to other people. But y'all, there's so much other stuff to unpack and talk about and discuss. I will have Jeremy on one of the episodes to kind of unpack. I know a lot of people want to talk about so much stuff in regards to our relationship and everything like that. Now, this is not a tea talk. We're not here to talk about tea and do all that other stuff. So if you're here for that reason, when that video does drop, it won't, I promise you, it won't. It's going to be a very therapeutic, healing video and a very open and honest video, but we're not here for tea. Like, we're both grown, mature, and we both have found God. And I didn't find God after I left that truck stop. I didn't find God the next week. I didn't find God the next year. And I didn't find God the year after that. It still took a very long time for me to really listen and seek him in the way that he needed to be sought after. And there's so many moving parts to that we can discuss later. But I do want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this very first podcast episode. I hope it wasn't too all over the place, being that it's like 2 o'clock in the morning now and I'm super tired, but I really wanted to get this video filmed because there's no way to film this when my little ones get up at 7 o'clock in the morning. They don't take naps, so there was no way, and I want to be on time with Key Denver. So I'm gonna use next week. My husband is going to get the specs figured out of how to set up the camera, the audio, and all that other good stuff. I hope this should have been good enough for y'all. But I do want to, like I said, thank y'all wholeheartedly. If you have been here from the beginning. I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the evolution of Keesha. This podcast series is She Speaks, and this is me speaking unapologetically. I'm not worried about anyone or anything. The message will get across to who it needs to get across to, and I'm just so happy and content with where I'm at in my life and the healing that I've gone through to be here, to get through these things without crying or being really back to those dark spots in my life, because for so long I couldn't talk about it without having a mental breakdown. And now I'm so much stronger, and I've thoroughly done the work. And if there's anyone who started my journey 10 years ago and we were relating off the strength of all of the toxic things that we had been going through, and you could resonate with my toxic life and seeing certain things, and you have not done the work, this is my message to you. Step one, I really want you to get into your room, close the door, and take 30 minutes to talk to God. I want you to be forthcoming about your sins and be forthcoming about everything that you have done that you feel like you have wronged him or have not risen to the occasion of where you think you should be with your relationship with him, and truly seek his love and seek his knowledge as best as you can to really get on that journey to be selfless and to be a more healed person. I want a lot of you guys to heal throughout this and to find some type of peace. I'm okay. I know I went through so many things, but I'm okay. And I am a mom of 3, soon to be 4 beautiful, beautiful babies. And one thing my daughters are able to do, even at this young age, is be able to have those open-ended conversations about any and everything. And I'm going to continue that, because I never want them to be at a point where they don't know. And I'm for sure introducing them to God at such a young age, me and their dad especially. And I really thank him so much for making sure our family got onto that as a family and not just as individuals, because he has made sure to lead us in that and making sure that our daughters are God-fearing young ladies and know how to pray and know how to seek and call on God, because that is something they're going to need no matter what. And I wish you guys the best. I love y'all so much, and I'll see y'all in the next video. I will be going live every Sunday. So every Saturday, y'all will be getting a new podcast. And every Sunday, I will be going live, not just to talk particularly about the podcast, but about anything, just to give me a free day without having to worry about editing or anything work related. This is going to be a fun catch up. I have not went live in a while. So if you're watching this, then stay tuned for tomorrow. I will be going live. I don't know around what time, but around like 8 or 9. So I'll see y'all there. Bye.